Morning Sunshine. I just want to introduce Sean. He's coming up with a little interview that he did so that he can kind of explain what we're getting ready to do. In June 1st, we're going to go hop in a truck. It's going to be awesome. We're going to have a great time. But it's called overlanding. It's not a road trip per se. It's more of an off-road, hop in a truck, do various things that are, four-wheel drivey, I guess. I don't know. Shoot, I've never done overlanding. So Sean was interviewed by his son. I think his son interviewed him. And he did he answered questions. And I split the interview up into several parts.
How long have you been doing overlanding?
Overlanding is kind of a new term, and a lot of people are picking it up, and there's a lot of companies that are doing it, but overlanding is really vehicle-based travel. It typically is going from place to place to place, from 1 to 2 days in between, and my dad used to do that. I actually asked him and thanked him for introducing me to that lifestyle because I enjoy it. I enjoy being out in the wilderness, and he's like, well, we kind of did it because we didn't have any money. And it's obviously changed these days, but I've been doing it most of my life. It was something I started with my family. So,
what's your favorite trip for overlanding?
well, my favorite trip is obviously the one that we went to Morocco. That was probably the biggest trip. It was the first major trip crossing borders. I had my sons with me, so that was a lot of fun. We experienced a completely different continent and a completely different culture, and we got to see some pretty amazing things and meet some amazing people in both Britain and Ireland and obviously some of the folks that lived in Morocco. So that was a fun trip. I would do that one again.
List some overlanding trips you have done.
Overlanding trips. Well, while we're back in the States, we went and did a Grand Tetons Yellowstone trip. Then we did another one a couple years later up to Glacier National Park into Canada, back around through Washington and Idaho and Oregon and Nevada. That was fun. I did a trip down through Baja, Mexico. That was a lot of fun. And of course, the Morocco trip was probably the best. Ton of different trips. Some of them shorter, some of them longer.
Why Alaska?
It's the last frontier. It is one of the most remote places in the United States, part of Canada as well. They're just the remoteness and the vast amount of open land is not something you get in the east side of the country, and the west is getting a little crowded. So it's definitely one of my dream places to go, and that's essentially why I want to experience the entire Alaska, not just coastal. So being able to camp and do things like that are important to me.
What most excites you about this trip?
I think the thing that most excites me about this trip is that we're going to be traveling throughout Alaska and being able to see the absolute wilderness. We'll be traveling on main roads, but a lot of the side trips will be into some remote areas and being able to see the caribou and the bears and the wildlife you don't get to see on a normal basis.
How long have you been planning and saving for this trip?
This trip to Alaska I started planning probably 3-4 years ago. It's one of these things that I've wanted to do. So I started looking at what it would take to get that done. I started actually planning it about a year ago, and it was supposed to happen in 2020, but due to circumstances with moving and whatnot, relocating down to Arizona, it is going to happen this summer instead. So as far as like saving, it's been about a year and a couple more months and I should have it done.